Gets her right across the face, coming down, trying to prevent the layup, but that is just a hard hit. That's definitely going to be upgraded, I think, to a flagrant too, Ryan.
I think that is going to be a flagrant too.
When the bright lights of the basketball arena flickered over the hardwood floor, nobody in the stadium expected a routine defensive sequence to turn into an absolute sports media war zone. The energy inside the building was already crackling with high-stakes intensity, but what happened in a split second sent shockwaves straight from the court to national television screens across the country. Dijonai Carrington made a move that immediately halted the game, sending heavy physical contact directly towards Sophie Cunningham'S head and neck area. The sound of the referee's whistle blew instantly, cutting through the roaring crowd. But the damage was already done, as Cunningham went down hard onto the floor, clutching her head while teammates rushed over to assess the situation. Fans in the stands immediately erupted into a chaotic mix of defensive cheers and furious boos, sensing that this was far more than a simple defensive foul. It was a moment that felt personal, explosive, and dangerous, instantly capturing the attention of millions across the sports world. What followed was an unprecedented wave of scrutiny that pushed two of the league's most polarizing figures directly into the center of a burning national debate, proving once again that physical basketball always leaves a trail of drama behind it. But that was only the spark that lit the fuse. The impact itself was caught on multiple camera angles, each slow-motion replay magnifying the sheer intensity of the contact. Carrington was moving at full speed, closing the distance on defense with intense momentum, when her hand and arm swung through with immense force, striking Cunningham straight across the face and upper head region. Cunningham, known throughout her career as one of the most rugged, fearless enforcers in women's basketball, hit the floor with a terrifying thud, remaining down on the wood for several concerning moments as trainers sprinted from the bench. Referees crowded around the courtside monitor to review the tape from every conceivable angle, trying to determine whether the act was a standard basketball play gone wrong or something far more sinister that warranted an immediate ejection from the arena. Players from both benches began exchanging heated words near midcourt, with teammates stepping in to separate key figures who looked ready to exchange physical blows right then and there. The officials eventually ruled it a high-level penalty, but for the millions watching live at home, the official verdict on the court wasn't nearly enough to settle the score. The viral clip spread like wildfire across social media platforms within minutes, racking up tens of millions of views as sports analysts, casual fans, and former players debated whether Carrington deliberately targeted Cunningham's head. And what happened next would shock everyone. To understand why this specific moment triggered such an unprecedented explosion across the sports media world, you have to understand who Sophie Cunningham really is inside the broader landscape of professional basketball. Drafted into the league with a well-earned reputation for uncompromising toughness and relentless physical play, Cunningham has built her entire career around an aggressive, in-your-face style that constantly tests the limits of opponents. She is the type of player who never shies away from a diving hustle play for a loose ball, setting an illegal screen to set a tone, or standing her ground against anyone charging down the lane with bad intentions. Over the years, she has cultivated a massive, intensely loyal fan base precisely because she functions as an unyielding enforcer who refuses to back down, no matter how intense the atmosphere gets or how powerful the opponent facing her might be. So when Carrington's arm violently connected with Cunningham's head, it was viewed not just as a hard foul against a random opponent, but as a direct challenge to one of the toughest, most vocal competitors in the entire league. The outrage from Cunningham's supporters was instantaneous and deafening, with many claiming that Carrington had crossed a sacred line of player safety under the thin veil of competitive defense. But the tension was about to reach a whole new level once the biggest voice in sports entertainment stepped up to his microphone. Enter Stephen A. Smith, the undisputed powerhouse of sports broadcasting, whose loud, unscripted commentary can instantly alter the narrative of any story in modern sports. The morning after the game aired, Smith took to his platform on national television and his massively successful personal podcast, unleashing an absolute tirade that completely destroyed Carrington's actions on the court. With his signature high-energy delivery, theatrical pauses, and razor-sharp vocabulary, Smith did not hold back a single word, breaking down the foul frame by frame for his audience. He openly questioned Carrington's discipline on defense, calling the hit reckless, completely unnecessary, and flat-out dangerous to the long-term well-being of fellow professional athletes. Smith emphasized that while physical play has always been a celebrated pillar of basketball history, swinging aggressively at an opponent's head area crosses an unacceptable boundary that cannot be excused under any circumstances. His scathing critique went insanely viral, generating millions of additional impressions and transforming a fiery court moment into a full-blown national media trial. Yet, as Smith pointed out during his commentary, this was far from the first time Carrington had found herself standing directly in the crosshairs of intense public controversy. Carrington's career over recent seasons has been defined by a sequence of highly public, intensely debated on-court collisions that have made her one of the most talked-about and polarizing athletes in the modern game. Just months prior to this brutal collision with Cunningham, Carrington dominated international sports headlines during a high-stakes playoff series when her hand made direct contact with global phenomenon Caitlin Clark's eye. That specific incident resulted in visible swelling, sparked weeks of non-stop debate across morning sports shows, and led to severe public outrage from fans who accused Carrington of intentionally trying to rattle the young superstar. While Carrington maintained back then that the play was an unintended consequence of her fast-paced defensive style, millions of casual viewers viewed her actions with extreme suspicion. The media narrative surrounding her began to shift permanently, painting her as an agitator who frequently operates on the edge of dangerous play, while continuously testing the boundaries of official officiating. Every single time she steps onto the hardwood floor now, millions of eyes are glued to her movements, waiting to see if another explosive physical encounter will take place. The head hit on Cunningham seemed to confirm the worst suspicions of her harshest critics, who argued that an undeniable pattern of reckless physical behavior was taking root. But if anyone expected Dijonai Carrington to retreat into the background and quietly swallow the public backlash, they clearly underestimated her personality. Instead of issuing a sanitized statement through a team representative, Carrington took matters into her own hands, taking to her social media accounts to launch a fierce counteroffensive against her critics. She posted a series of direct, unfiltered messages aiming right at mainstream sports commentators, strongly implying that analysts like Stephen A. Smith were simply chasing clout and exaggerating normal basketball contact to farm TV ratings. Carrington fiercely defended her competitive nature, insisting that her game is defined by high intensity, raw energy, and aggressive defense, and that she would never apologize for playing hard against tough competition. She openly challenged the narrative being built around her, questioning why male sports commentators felt the need to police women's basketball physicality when similar hard fouls in men's sports are celebrated as grit and passion. Her bold statements instantly divided the sports community into two fiercely opposing camps. On one side, loyal supporters applauded Carrington for standing her ground against powerful media figures and refusing to be bullied by commentators who don't lace up sneakers. On the other side, angry fans viewed her total lack of remorse as arrogant, claiming she was dodging responsibility for a play that genuinely could have caused a severe neck injury or concussion. The feud between Carrington and Smith escalated into an all-out media war, with neither side willing to back down an inch. But that wasn't the whole story. To truly grasp the magnitude of this intense fallout, one must look at the broader, highly sensitive environment surrounding player safety and officiating standards in modern basketball. For decades, professional women's basketball operated in a space where physical, grounded-out defense was standard procedure, with minimal media scrutiny on hard fouls, trash talk, or physical intimidation. Legendary players built entire careers out of imposing their physical strength on opponents, creating a league culture that prioritized mental and physical toughness above almost everything else. However, as the league has experienced a historic surge in popularity, bringing in billions of social media views, massive television contracts, and millions of new fans, the standards governing the game have undergone a radical transformation. New fans, accustomed to strict officiating protecting star players in other sports, react with deep horror when they witness heavy physical blows landing above the shoulders. This culture clash has created a massive divide inside the basketball world, between legacy fans who appreciate rugged, aggressive enforcers and modern viewers who demand immediate ejection and suspension for any unnecessary head contact. The collision between Carrington and Cunningham became the ultimate tipping point for this ongoing ideological battle. As the heated arguments continued to dominate sports radio channels and online forums, basketball breakdown channels began posting comprehensive video essays analyzing Carrington's history on defense. These analysts dissected her footwork, hand placement, and defensive positioning across multiple seasons, attempting to answer the million-dollar question of whether her physical play is intentional or merely the result of playing at maximum velocity. Opposing fan bases traded insults in comment sections, compiling endless highlight reels of Cunningham's own past physical fouls to argue that she was far from an innocent bystander in the league's physical hierarchy. Supporters of Cunningham pointed out that while she plays tough, she rarely targets an opponent's head area with wild swinging arms, drawing a clear line between playing hard basketball and committing unsafe acts. The digital battleground became so toxic that players from other teams began chiming in on social media, taking sides and adding fuel to an already roaring bonfire of player drama. The relentless coverage proved beyond any doubt that modern sports fandom thrives just as much on personal rivalries and drama as it does on game-winning shots and championship rings. And what happened next would shock everyone. Behind closed doors, league executives were forced to navigate a precarious balancing act between maintaining officiating integrity and capitalizing on the unprecedented media attention generated by the feud. Ratings for games involving both Carrington and Cunningham spiked dramatically following the incident, with television broadcast networks heavily promoting their upcoming rematches as must-watch television events. Ticket prices for future games between their respective teams skyrocketed on secondary ticket markets as fans rushed to secure seats in hopes of witnessing another intense, physical chapter in their ongoing rivalry. Sponsors and corporate partners, while thrilled by the record-breaking viewership numbers, silently voiced concerns about the potential brand damage if on-court altercations descended into unscripted physical fights on national television. League administrators found themselves caught directly in the crossfire, facing heavy pressure from media personalities like Stephen A. Smith to issue strict disciplinary warnings, while simultaneously trying not to sanitize the intense physical competition that makes the league so exciting to watch. The situation highlighted the delicate tension between protecting player health and delivering high-stakes entertainment to a hungry global audience. Stephen A. Smith, never one to let a topic die down while public interest remains high, dedicated another entire segment of his show to addressing Carrington's direct social media comments toward him. Sitting comfortably behind his desk with a serious expression, Smith systematically dismantled the argument that male commentators have no right to critique physical play in women's basketball. He asserted that, as a journalist who has covered professional sports for over 30 years, his responsibility is to analyze the game with complete objectivity, regardless of the gender of the athletes on the court. Smith argued that giving female athletes a free pass for dangerous physical plays would be patronizing, maintaining that treating the sport with genuine respect means holding its players to the exact same safety standards as high-profile male superstars. He emphasized that Carrington's exceptional athletic ability and defensive skills should be the main focal point of her career, rather than a recurring reputation for committing flagrant fouls that leave opponents hurt on the floor. His response earned widespread praise from sports ethicists, who commended him for refusing to compromise his professional standards under social media pressure. Meanwhile, inside the team locker rooms, the aftermath of the hit continued to shape team dynamics and player mentalities as the regular season marched forward. Cunningham, speaking to reporters during a post-game media availability session with an ice pack resting nearby, adopted a cold, unbothered attitude that only solidified her reputation as an indestructible enforcer. She told journalists that taking heavy hits to the body and head was simply part of the business when you play in the paint, refusing to frame herself as a victim or beg the league office for extra protection. Her stoic, unapologetic stance won her even deeper admiration from her teammates and fans, who viewed her response as a masterclass in professional toughness. In stark contrast, Carrington's locker room remained defiant, with teammates rallying around her and accusing the national media of constructing a false villain narrative to generate cheap broadcast clicks. The sharp contrast in how both locker rooms handled the incident created an underlying tension that guaranteed every future matchup between the two squads would be played in an absolute pressure cooker of hostility. As the days passed, sports science experts began weighing in on the physical realities of head contact in professional athletics, warning against the normalization of blows to the head and neck. Medical professionals pointed out that even brief, non-concussive head trauma accumulated over a long physical season can have long-term consequences for an athlete's physical health and career longevity. They argued that basketball leagues must enforce zero-tolerance policies regarding above-the-shoulder contact to protect players from themselves, noting that competitive adrenaline often blinds athletes to the true physical dangers of violent collisions. These medical warnings added significant weight to Stephen A. Smith's broadcast claims, shifting the public debate from a simple argument about basketball toughness to a serious discussion about long-term workplace safety in professional sports. The conversation forced fans and media commentators alike to re-examine their own appetite for physical drama, posing uncomfortable questions about whether sports culture celebrates unnecessary danger for the sake of public entertainment. The incident also ignited a wider debate among professional basketball referees, who found their every decision dissected under a digital microscope by millions of armchair officials. Former professional referees appeared on major sports networks to analyze the exact mechanics of the call, explaining how difficult it is to differentiate between an accidental arm slip during a fast-paced drive and a deliberate, hostile swipe at an opponent's head. They highlighted that in the heat of a high-speed play, officials must make split-second judgments without the benefit of slow-motion cameras, leading to inconsistent enforcement that often infuriates both teams equally. This lack of officiating consistency across the league was identified as a primary trigger for escalated tensions, as players often feel compelled to enforce their own unwritten court rules when they feel the officials are failing to protect them from dangerous physical contact. The Carrington-Cunningham incident served as a textbook example of how a single controversial call can break down court discipline and lead to an unmanageable environment for crew chiefs. But that wasn't the whole story. Beyond the immediate basketball circle, the dynamic between media giants like Stephen A. Smith and outspoken professional athletes like Dijonai Carrington reflected a major shift in how modern sports stories are created and consumed. In previous eras, television commentators held absolute authority over athlete reputations, with players having limited avenues to defend themselves against broad national critiques. Today, the immediate accessibility of social media allows athletes to directly challenge national media narratives in real time, creating a multi-layered media ecosystem where the response to the news often becomes bigger than the original event itself. Carrington's willingness to attack Stephen Smith's credibility head-on showed a new generation of confident, vocal athletes who refuse to let traditional media institutions dictate their public character without a fight. This constant back and forth between commentators seeking high TV ratings and athletes defending their personal brand has created a high-octane content engine that drives modern sports culture forward at breakneck speed.